Oh,
It's dark here.
Yep, I got to make sure that I mute it on this end. There we go. Got that. That. And just like that, we're live. Welcome to Triple T, number 25 already, all the way up to June 21st, 2022. Time just flies when you're alive. I can't say anything for the other side, but we can only speculate. If this is your first time here or first time watching the recording, as always, I would appreciate it if you would click the subscribe button and ring the bell and share this with as many people as possible and leave comments. Even on the Facebook posting, if that's how you found this, so that people know that it's more than just me talking to myself, which does happen sometimes, but hopefully not tonight. Disclaimer, all questions are of it. Please ask questions. It doesn't even have to pertain to topics. I can chase squirrels all day long. As those of you that have been with me for a while know, I've got a whole plethora of squirrels that cross the road, and some of them I catch, and some just, pew. But enough of that. As I like to start out, anybody have anything they'd like to share? Ahas, epiphanies, stuff over the week? Anything from last week that you're still remembering or got questions on or would like to comment on? Yes.
Hi guys. I was gonna wait for Fran to show up. I don't know if she's coming tonight, so if she catches it on the recording. The other day we were talking about, and I don't know if this happens to you guys after you're like, oh man, we should have talked about that, or why didn't we touch on that? One thing that she had asked along the lines of like how to stay in alignment, or no, I have to go back to my notes. Sorry, I know this is live.
Okay. At least this way we know that this isn't like scripted or rehearsed. This is the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, I'm supposed to be flighty right now. That's working out very well for me. She was asking about how to think of things differently and how to move forward and to not beat up on yourself. And one of the things that I thought about afterwards is I try to remember certain mantras. And I know one of them was like, it'll all work out. It'll all work out. And Holly came up with some really awesome points as well. And one of the things that, as you can tell, I wear a lot of rings, and I actually make them anchors. So like reminders for myself of, how to keep moving, or a lot of my bracelets have sayings on them, sayings that are helpful to me to help remind them, because I don't always have Post-its in front of me, given the fact that I travel all around the day. But that was just something that I meant to tell her. And so hopefully, Fran, if you see this and you catch the recording, jewelry is the way to go.
I have her mobile number. I'm texting her now.
Thanks, Francine. She's gonna be like, what? I missed it.
That way she knows why her nose is tickling or whatever that saying is.
Is it her nose or ears ringing?
There, that one.
There.
Some part of your body is twitching. Must be somebody else in the universe causing it. So anytime something is going on, you can go.
Well, let's hope not, because she's still sleeping. It's still middle of the night where she is.
Oh.
No, there it is.
Caught a squirrel that was running by. On the subject, totally different. Bing! off on a tangent, squirrel, about the idea of guardian angels, and whether you believe in them or not, there's been enough stories and speculations, and I'll tell you, I fully believe that there are guardian angels that are out, around us, keeping track of us, helping us out, and the concept of it. At one point, I wish I could tell you who brought up this concept, but it helped me with road rage immensely. That that philosophy of, well, somebody pulls out in front of you and is driving slow, and you're like, oh, get over! And then you hear about all of these near misses in accidents where, had they been 2 seconds forward, had they, this or that. And so I've just learned that when something happens like that, somebody pulls out in front of me, and because I'm a human, I'm like, did you shoot? And then I'll just look over and go, okay, I'm not sure what that was about, but thank you. I guess I'll just go along with the lines that you were trying to keep me a few seconds behind from the person who ran the red light. And the more I do that, the more it allows me to just flow. It's a much easier way of dealing with things that used to rile me up. And another squirrel showed up right when I said that, the saying of some of the more dangerous people in the world are the ones that can easily say it is what it is, because they've already been through so much stuff that they don't get riled up about a whole lot, which you can either just write off as, yeah, they don't react, or they're yellow or whatever, or it can be, I've seen enough shit, I know how to do enough shit, it is what it is. And don't push me to the point where it no longer is what it is, because you don't want to see that part. So those were two heavy squirrels that ran across the tracks. Any comments on those? Welcome to Triple T on a nice hot Texas night. Yes, Francine.
Well, I had an accident and they totaled my car beginning of the year. And the insurer said that the spot they hit my car was the strongest of the whole car. Otherwise I would have been crushed. But yeah, there are definitely guardian angels, definitely. Yeah.
Well, here's another squirrel. I've been put on the phone a number of times with a number of different insurance agents trying to minimize their payment requirements after an accident. And at the time, I didn't understand how much NLP came to me naturally, and reframing. And one of the classic ones was I had been using my business partner's vehicle for a photo shoot, and coming back home, Grandma ran a stop sign, and there was no place for me to go. Vehicle had coming on the other side, and I T-boned her. Luckily, she was in a 72 Olds Cutlass 4-door, which totally shredded the Isuzu Rodeo I was driving. But being I had all my photography gear, what do? First, make sure Grandma's okay. Okay, Grandma's a little beat up, but she's going to make it. And I probably did some inadvertent hypnosis at the time without knowing it. Oh, nope, you're fine. Look at that. Oh, yeah, you got a little scratch, but you're going to be fine. Look at that. Look at me. Let me see your eyes. Yep. Oh, you're doing great. Let's get you off to the side of the road so you can get a little more air and we'll get things figured out. Then I went and took pictures. Well, fast forward a little bit later, insurance company is trying to lowball on the repair, and oh, it was this, and oh, it was that, and we got to figure out who is really truly at fault, and blah blah blah. And I said, let me talk to him. So I get on the phone and I said, hey, I'm just here to let you know I'm here to help you any way possible. I've got the numbers of all the witnesses. I took 78 photos and have a description printout of the weather report from that day, showing that it was completely clear, no clouds in the sky, had not rained in 3 days, and let me know how I can get them to you so that we can get this resolved quickly as possible and have a payment in full done by tomorrow or next week at the latest, correct? Right? And they're like, well, I said, the pictures, I can have them sent in any form you want. You want them in 8x10s, I can have them blown up so that you can see all the details. And the list of the 4 kids that watched Grandma drive through the stop sign, the name of the neighbor that was across the street that watched it happen, and the oncoming car that barely missed her because they had the ability to go around. I've got all their names and information in the event that you couldn't get that from the highway patrolman who was pretty busy. So who would you like me to send them to? And again, we're going to have full payment in a week, right? Well, and by the way, what was your name again? And I need your extension. And today's date is, and I'm talking to you at this time. Yeah, we got payment done just like that. But you got to understand, they hire people specifically trained to be pit bulls to minimize the amount of payments they have to make. So you have to think, what would be their biggest fear?
I had the police report because the police came and the ambulance came, and because they thought they were being pieces. But yeah, I had the number plate of the guy who was driving, who was there, who saw it happen. When I asked him, did this person drive through red? And he said, yes, they did. So I had, yeah, you have to have that. Otherwise it's your words against theirs,
Yep. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of get a kick out of doing stuff like that. And part of it, I call it diffusing the bomb. If you know what kind of bombs they're holding, how they're going to attack you, how they're going, and it's not just insurance. This can be anybody that's difficult to deal with. I've got some clients that they have troubles with one of the parental units, and so I'll go through scenarios with them of, okay, so what do you see happening? Or, what's one of the common deals with one of your parentals? oh, my mom, she thinks everything's about her. And anytime I bring something up, it's like, oh, we're going to be drama. And I said, okay. Then your bomb diffuser would be, okay, I gotta talk to you about something. And just so you know, this isn't about you. And you go through and you throw out all of the arguments that you can think that she was going to have in the first place on the front side. A, that's diffused the bombs before they get a chance to be brought forward. And B, if they try to bring it up later, you have the leverage. Whoa! No, like I said in the beginning, this isn't about you. Da da da. Well, no, like I said earlier, before we started talking, it's because we couldn't find any other date. Well, no, like I said earlier, and when you get really good at diffusing the bombs, the arguments shorten immensely. And your chances of winning escalate highly. One of the ways to go through it is you can do role play in your head, especially if you know the person quite well. Lawyers do this all the time when they're going to, the good lawyers. They will figure out, well, what kind of angles is the opposition going to take, and how do I counter them? And if possible, can I counter them on the front side without giving them any ideas to utilize in the backside? So that's where you take communication skills to a different level. Any questions or input on that?
I think I have lots of questions.
Okay.
So yes, so you actually sit down, because I'm planning to go and see my parents towards the end of the year, if I can. Well, anyway, it's not sure yet, but yeah, it's in the plans sooner or later. So you say that you think about all the arguments they've come up before, and then you kind of plan ahead, and before you start talking to them, you just lay everything gush on the table, really.
Well, that's one way. It's not so much that you just gush, but you've rehearsed and prepped for different scenarios. Like let's say a holiday is coming up, and you know that the parental units are expecting you to be there, but you've been given a chance to go somewhere else, and you're not choosing it to blow off the parents. Say somebody gave you an opportunity to go to a resort for the weekend, and it's free. And you know that if you go there and you go, well, I was going to go, about Thanksgiving, yeah, you're going to bring the cake, right? Well, not really. Or else you come in and you go, hey, Mom, got to talk to you about something. Just so you know, this isn't about you. This isn't about us. This is not about the family. We were given an opportunity to go stay at a resort, free of charge. And the only stipulation is the date. And it's on Thanksgiving. And again, it was hard for us to think about it, and usually we go to his parents' place on, for Christmas, and we come to you guys for Thanksgiving, but I can't change the date. So what are 3 solutions to the situation? What we came up with so far is da, da, da. Well, now before she even has a chance to get riled up and get angry about it, you've let her know, hey, it's not about you, it's not about the family, it's not about this, here are the situations. The other one that I really like is, so what are 3 solutions that we can come up with for the situation? Here's what we've come up with so far. Which brings us to another squirrel. And we'll get back to this one, but I taught this to my wife when she was city manager, where certain people become known as the problem solvers, especially if you're in a position of authority, like city manager. And so people would find problems and dump them on her desk, even though she already had a full day's agenda. Actually, she typically had about a 3-day agenda to do in one day. And then somebody would come in and go, hey, we found this problem. There you go, and leave. And so what I taught her was, hey, we found this problem. Awesome, you found this problem. So what 3 solutions have you come up with yet so far so that we're not duplicating efforts? And she said the first couple of times she did that, they were like, what 3 solutions have you come up with so far so that we're not duplicating efforts? Well, why don't you go put together 3 solutions and bring them to me. I'll go over them and I'll see if any of them, which one of them we may work with. What that did was a couple of things. One, it showed them, don't just find problems and dump them on my table without thinking that you're going to be part of the solution. Two, it allowed them to know that you're part of the team. You were hired because you have a brain. You're welcome to use it. The third is, I'm not giving you permission to fix the problems. I still want you to bring them to me, but I want you to also bring the solutions you've come up with. The solutions you came up with, no offense, we may not be able to use any of them, but I want you to bring them anyway. But if one of the ones that you bring is viable, I will give you the credit, because that's what teamwork is. And she said once she started, basically when it got out that this was how she was running it now, her workload dropped significantly, because they were now still bringing problems, but they're like, hey, we found this problem. Here's 3 of the solutions that we came up with. And she goes, oh, number 2 is awesome. Go ahead, take care of it. Boom. And 30 seconds, done, and they're gone and out, and it's taken care of. And so that's another little part of creating an environment where there's less work on your behalf. Does that make sense? I know that I'm chasing squirrels like crazy, and I haven't even gotten to my 3 for the week. Any input, questions, ahas, epiphanies on that?
Sorry, really quick. You said 3 things. I liked what you said. You said you're part of the team. I'm not giving you permission to not tell me and to come up with your own solutions. And what was I think I missed number 2 or number 1.
Could you tell me which ones you have written down? So
You're part of the team.
yes.
And I'm not giving you permission to not tell me, but to come up with solutions as well.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to rewind.
No, it's fine. It's like
Yeah,
I'm testing
no.
both their memories.
One of it is they're not allowed to just find problems and dump them on your desk.
That's what it was. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Any more input on that before we move on to this week's 3 that I came up with? Bueller? Okay. For the week, I came up with Celebrate All Victories, the surprise special, and then highlights from my talk for Vegas. Celebrate All Victories, that one should be pretty quick. I was talking with somebody about the importance of the victory pose, and I'm not going to go completely over power poses and everything, but especially victory pose. Those that are around me enough know that I do this all the time. I celebrate my little victories. I celebrate other people's victories. And I challenge anybody who watches this to do this as much as possible. Part of it is that it helps your mentality, your endorphins, all the above, by recognizing that you've accomplished something. I mean, what do we do for children? I mean, every little thing they do, yay, way to go, all right, yay! And then after a little while, we're like, good job, kid, and off we go. Why can't we keep that up our entire life for any age? For small stuff, it doesn't have to be big, and it doesn't have to be a power pose, which is a different mindset where you hold it for a minimum of 2 minutes. But it could be, like sometimes I'll look over and I'll see the clock and it's, same digits, 3:33, and I'm just like, yeah, for a whole second. But for a whole second, my whole body went, yeah, cool. And you've seen me on our triple T's. Somebody tells me they had something good happen that week. What do? Show me. One person got it. Okay, 2 people. Okay. And I was like, oh, I'm at the end of the train. But at least you guys got it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now my question is, especially for Francine, who hit him hard, how did that feel?
It feels good.
Yeah,
It does feel good. It makes me laugh and smile and giggle. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing how that simple little gesture can put a smile on your face. Well, if that's all it took, why wouldn't we do this like a couple hundred times a day? I'll do it in the car, which, really throws people off. Yay! Like, hands on the wheel, boy. Relax. But it's another way to train our minds to celebrate life. And enjoy as many of the little things as possible, because little things add up. Don't believe me? Look at ants. My wife totally blew me away the other day. We've got harvester ants colony out in the back 40, and they've got a patch, I would say probably about 6 feet around, of bare dirt, and it's growing. And if you don't know what harvester ants do, they go out and bring back food. They will clear trails and stuff. Well, when she clears all the weeds out of the flower bed and everything now, she takes it and dumps it right on top of the carpenter ant pile or mound. The next day, it's gone. Talk about little things adding up. Those little guys will take a pile of weeds this big and decimate it, gone, bring it inside in 24 hours. I also watch them attack a June bug, because nature's so kind. Oh yeah, I'm not sure how they got that June bug on its back, but that's the last place it lived. Oh, I videotaped it. Like, they were like, so. That's why it cracks me up when some people, I'm so stressed out, I just need to get back to nature. I'm like, that's a mindset, because have you ever seen nature? They're stressed. Like, birds are like, they'll land down, they're like, deer out in the wild, they're like, what was that? Because there's a lot less kindness than we think out in nature. One of the wildest things I saw one time was a dragonfly landed on the back of a large horsefly. Horsefly was on the window by my office, and I'm sitting there and I look over and I'm like, frickin' fly, all of a sudden, choom, and this dragonfly is on it, folded its wings right in so it couldn't move, and proceeded to eat it head first. Right there for my viewing delight. And I'm like, wow, nature is so kind. Yes, we're all over the place tonight. Must be the heat that got to me working outside today. Anyhow, back to celebrate all victories. I'm sure that dragonfly flew away going, yay, got me a fly, wings up. Any input on that? What do you guys think?
I kind of like to celebrate things, even if it's kind of small. You know, if something good happened or big. Of course, the bigger, the better the celebration.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah! If you win the $2.5 million lottery and you don't go, yeah. I mean, there are a couple of people on this planet, you know, probably in Dubai, be like, I won the $2.5 million. I'll buy a car.
Well, I didn't get $2.5 million, but yeah, I got a payout from the insurance this week. So
Yeah.
it's not in my account yet, but yeah, it's. So we celebrated that, and we'll celebrate again when it comes into my account.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. And then next week when it shows up, you can tell us and we can all celebrate again. Yay!
Yeah, and it wasn't as hard as we thought it would be. We didn't think it would be so fast. And yeah, it's been awesome. It's been
Good answer. Anybody else? Any other input on that, or on to the next one?
I was just going to say, this is something that I probably should have even said earlier, because I had some chronic pain during the week, and I reached out to TJ for some help on this, and he talked about doing the victory pose more frequently. And I was just, first of all, it's amazing how many things this makes a difference. And I'm still working on it. Obviously, I should probably do it more, but you know, like this works not just for your mood, not just for everything. You know, it's working on chronic pain. It's working on all sorts of different things. And one of the things I think is, because you were talking earlier about, you know, when somebody pulls in front of you and slows you down and it stops you from being in that accident. I think part of the reason I had that chronic pain was because I needed to reach out for the other things in my life I needed to learn this for. So anyway, just throwing that out there. So thank you. That's been awesome.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that. Oh, I'm getting all the feels now. I do what I do. Anybody else? Yes, no, on to the next one. All right, surprise special. Those that know me know what the surprise special is. Those that are watching this recording probably are not really certain what the heck I'm talking about, which is why we're talking about it. And it came from, I got a download while reading a book, The Speed of Trust by Stephen R. Covey. Great book. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. And talks about how business and relationships and all the above are highly affected by trust. The higher the trust, the quicker business goes. Lower the trust, the slower it goes. You know, just like flying before 9/11. Show up a half hour before your flight, bada bing, walk in, get on the plane. After 9/11, 3 hours before, make sure you take off your shoes, your belt, you do the Macarena, check to make sure, you know, I think I talked about this a couple of Triple T's ago. But I've learned to use it in different applications as well. Another one was, and I think it was, excuse me, should have shut that off. Another one was, I think it was Darren Hardy was talking about it. The gentleman had a coffee stand, got very popular, but he was starting to lose business because he couldn't keep up with the flow, because he was ringing up sales and trying to make change and everything, and it slowed it down. And so what he did was he just put out a basket with some change in it and said, please make your own change. God bless. And he wouldn't ring it up. Everybody made their own change. And he was handing out coffee. And of course, people were like, oh, you had your money sitting out for the public? What if they ran off with their coffee? And he goes, I was losing business anyway. But what he found out was, at the end of the day, because he counted cups in sales, he just marked them down, didn't make the change. He was making more money. People were paying more than they were before. And he was making almost triple the sales because he wasn't being slowed down to try and ring up the sale. speed of trust. When the trust is high, business goes faster. A couple of years ago, Warren Buffett did something billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar sale on a handshake, walked in, goes, yeah, I like the business. I'll buy it for this much. They wrote it down, handshake. He walked out. Well, how many people can get away with that? But because of the trust factor that he's built and the amount of money that he has the ability to walk in, do a handshake on a multi-billion-dollar deal and say, have my lawyers contact your lawyers and we'll get it done, and head out. Hey, Fran. Yay! The other application that I took it with, being I'm a foodie, and some people know me well enough, they know this one quite well, but if you're watching this recording and you don't know me, I even have a Facebook page called The Surprise Special. And what it is, it's where I go into restaurants and I just tell them how much money I want to invest in my meal, and I want the surprise special. And this works really well in the mom and pop stores, especially Mexican food, and really well with sushi. And in the sushi restaurants, what I like to do is sit at the bar, sushi bar, figure out which one is the lead chef. And I wait a little bit until I can get to talk to him. And I'll go, here's how much money I'm going to spend on food. And I would like the surprise special. And if they're new to the game, they're like, huh? Like, I want you to remember why you became a chef. You know your ingredients, you know your trade. Pretend that I'm a friend or a family member from out of town and have fun. That's the number one rule. I want you to just have fun. If you've got some ingredients you got to get rid of, make them for me. I don't care. And I'll always get asked, well, what do you like? And my response is, if you make something I don't like, that's on me. But I personally, because I've learned you try everything 3 times. And the reason you try them at least 3 times is there's bad cooks and bad ingredients. And if you've tried it 3 different, and that doesn't mean 3 spoons of the exact same plate. No. 3 different times of 3 different servings of the same thing. And if it sucked all 3 times, you don't have to eat it again. There's plenty of good food out there. But I have had over 24 people now that, since I've been teaching this, who have gotten back to me and they're like, man, when I was a kid, I absolutely hated blah, blah, blah. And, you said 3 times, so I thought I'd try it one more time. It was so good. What the what? I'm like, yes, bad cooks, bad ingredients. Now back to the sushi part, or even the Mexican part, is if they really get it, you'll see the split second they get it. Because all of a sudden they're like, well, wait, you mean I get to be a chef? I don't have to just like, number 7, please. And they'll have fun. And when they get it, the entire time that I've done the surprise special, I don't think I've really ever gotten less than what I paid for, because they'll be like, oh, okay, $10. What's on our list? What's on the menu for $10? Oh, the number 8. I'll make you a number 8. I'm like, oh, thanks for being creative. But when they really get it, if you go to my Facebook page for the surprise special, you'll see how blessed I've been by giving an amount of trust that they're not used to. One of my favorite stories, well, I've got two that I'm going to share real quick. We might not get to the Vegas stuff, which is fine. But one of them, there was a little Mexican restaurant over by where my wife lived when we first met. And the first couple of times, yeah, they're like, okay, this is kind of different, a little weird. All right, here. You just want me to make you anything? I'm like, yeah, make me what you would make for yourself when you're off work. Well, like the fourth time I went there, they knew me. And it was kind of slow that night. It was almost closing time. And I said, yeah, I'd like a surprise special to go. Now, I don't speak fluent Spanish. In fact, I hardly speak any Spanish. But the whole crew that night migrated into the kitchen. And I hear them, and they're having a blast. And like, and I'm like, they're not just talking about the soccer game. There's enough words I understand about Mexican culinary, asada and pollo and all of this stuff. And the chef that night brings my food out to me. Not the lady that was working the till. He's got it in a bag. He's holding it out, and he's got this grin on his face. And I go, "Do you have fun?" He goes, "Uh-huh." Hands it to me, and I grab onto it. I'm like, whoa. Get back to Tina's place, and we open it up, and it is a perfectly cooked, bacon-wrapped burrito with carne asada, pollo asada, avocado, salsa verde, French fries, and it had a southern chipotle drizzle over the top of it and some cilantro. I mean, it was, if it had not been in a go box, this thing was picture perfect for a food magazine. And it was, again, cooked perfectly, which takes skill to wrap a burrito in bacon and cook it perfectly. I called the restaurant up just before they closed, and I said, "Put the chef on." They're like, "Everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, muy bueno." every complimentary Mexican word I could think of. You like? I'm like, "Duh, yeah, very good." Unfortunately, we moved, but I finally got it set up at the Mexican restaurant here. The other story was Dr. David Snyder lived very close to a sushi restaurant, and he and his wife had been going there for years. His wife grew up in mainland China and really liked sushi. So after one of the trainings, when we finished complete training, we were hungry. Well, let's do sushi. So we went to this place, and they close at 10 o'clock. Of course, we get there like 9:35. And David goes, "I want to try that surprise thingy that you do." I went, "Cool, I'm all for it. Let's sit at the bar." And I knew who the lead chef was because I'd been there enough times, and called him over and I said, "We would like the surprise special." He goes, "Huh?" And I said, "Just make us whatever you want. Your craft, your trade, your ingredients, whatever you want." He looked at the assistant chef, and both of them lit up. I mean, they're like, "Oh, we get to have fun." The stuff that they put out, the amount of the pictures, and some of them were on the surprise special. I mean, these guys were going all out. They were bummed out because they only had 7 large prawn, fresh large prawn. And there were four of us, like, we're sorry, we only have seven. I'm like, dude, no apologies. When we, now it's 10 after 10, the rest of the wait staff is waiting to finish up cleaning. And the chef's like, oh, no, go. We'll finish it up. Da-da-da. They head out. We left there almost 10:45. Stuffed. We could not eat one more bite. And they were still trying to, would you like something? When we left there, Dr. David's wife, Dr. Dawn, said that was the best sushi she'd ever had. And I said, do you know why? She goes, I said, because they got to have fun. They got to be chefs. They were no longer making a number 7 and a number 12. Some of the creations that they made, I said, I guarantee you, are not on the menu. And that was the first time that I got to try their form of sea bass. I've ordered it 3 times since. And I'm not a big fish person, but it came out so tasty, so flaky. And when you get the meat off, they go, and I keep asking them, one of the things, we're going to go into culinary stuff here. When you do this stuff, especially sushi, ask the chef, now, do I put any soy sauce on it? Do I dip this? Is this fresh? What's the best way to eat this? It shows, because there are certain ones that they make that it would be like putting ketchup on a tenderloin. Like, yeah, no, you don't do that, especially in front of the chef. And some of them, he'll be like, the chef will be like, that one you dip, that one you do not, and that's the way they're meant to be enjoyed. So I challenge you guys to go out and try something different. And if you have a place where you can work the surprise special, try it. Now, if you have allergies to food, yes, you want to make them known. But other than that, live on the edge a little bit. Like I say, that sea bass, I would have never ordered it. Nope. I'm so glad that I got it as a surprise special. In fact, when I came up with it, I remember I came up with it because of my favorite pizza place in San Diego, Bronx Pizza, selling pizza by the slice. And I just finished reading the Stephen R. Covey's book. And I came in there and they have like 15 different varieties. It's pizza by the slice. And I got to know a couple of the guys there, and I just handed him money. He goes, what do you want? I said, the surprise special. And that's when it was born. He goes, what? I said, you guys make the best pizza in the place. I'm sure there ain't a single thing in there. I know there's nothing in there that's bad, so surprise me. And they always picked out the biggest pieces. And there were a couple of them, I ain't gonna lie, like I can see it now, and I can't think of the ingredient, but when it came up, pesto pizza. And when it came and I opened it up, I was like, oh, I would have never ordered that. And it didn't take me but 2 bites to feel bad about that thought right there. I was like, you said surprise special. Because 2 bites into it, I was like, oh my God, why haven't I ordered this before? This is awesome. Oh man. Yeah, I was hooked ever since. So that's my talk on surprise special. Any input on that? Ahas, epiphanies? Yes, no? Yes, Fran.
Well, I think surprise specials can happen anywhere in your life. I did myself a surprise special invoked dream last night, and it wasn't what I was expecting. I'm still processing what the heck it means, but it was extremely attention grabbing. And I know there's some important messages in there. I've just got to untangle them. So, that's kind of another way of a surprise special. I certainly got a surprise special dream last night. And yeah, it definitely meant something.
And I love the way that you package that, because we get answers and information in so many different forms and inputs, and a lot of people brush that stuff off. Like when I'm working with clients and I have to ask that, I'm like, okay, so how old is this energy? And they just brush it off as like, oh, I've always felt this way. And I'm like, okay. And I go, all right, so if you were to ask your subconscious, how old is this energy? And they're like, 7. I'm like, is it 7 years old, or were you 7 years old when it showed up? I was 7. What was happening at the time when you were 7, when this energy, and all of a sudden, boom, that answer pops out. And I'm like, yeah. I had one client out of the blue while we were in session. All of a sudden, he's like, yeah, my hand itches. I'm like, what color is the energy in that's making your hand itch? It's green. If you did a carbon date test on that energy, how old might that energy be? 8. Okay, is the energy 8 years old, or were you 8 when that energy first showed up? Oh, it was 8. What was happening when you were 8? And everything just unlocked right there. And we were able to go in and clean it up. I guess that would be a surprise special for, I want some answers. Okay, your hand's gonna itch. The heck's that got to do with getting the answer? Well, I got to ask the questions. The better you get at asking questions, the better the answers you get. And that brings us right up to the 7 o'clock hour, even though I started a minute or two late. This is where I request open mic. Ask questions if you've got something that you've been working on over the week that you would like some help with. If there's anything that I can help you with, anything, this is your platform. Anybody got anything? Yes, Fran.
Tell me about you and other people accepting their greatness.
Ask it one more time so that I can understand exactly how to answer that.
It's a wide open question.
I was like, that's a pretty big platform.
It's a pretty big platform. How would you advise your clients to accept their own greatness and live their own greatness?
And define greatness for me so that I can answer that a little better.
Being more than your everyday thought of, this is who I am, it's just little old me. And then you suddenly get thrust, maybe by the universe, or maybe by circumstances, or maybe by your passion, into maybe being an expert on something or doing something really well. How would you step into that? How would you advise other people to step into that?
Here's a quote that hit me really hard. 2 of them, actually. What if, when you die, God walks you over to this big box and says, by the way, that's yours. And you go, well, what's in there? It's all the things that I had planned for you that you didn't walk into, that you didn't accept. And it's everything that I wanted to give you that you didn't ask for. The other one is, what if the actual definition of hell is having to spend the rest of eternity with the person that you could have been? Don't die with your song left inside of you. The richest places on the planet are graveyards, because that's where all the books that were never written, all the ideas that were never followed up on, all the ideas and inventions that were never brought to fruition lay. And then I like asking people, especially when I taught my class Identity Management University, if they did a biopic on you, first off, what actor or actress would play your role up to today? And what would they have to know about you to be able to represent you so well that your friends and family go, oh, yeah, they hit it. They nailed it, just like you. And then, like any great movie, the transition happens. Whether it be through divine intervention or the accident or something, and you wake up the next day and everything's changed. What would the actor or actress have to know or become for the second part of the movie? Yes, Ray.
That's actually, you're telling me that people need to step into their own hero's journey, as in the storytelling process of, the hero's journey where the hero fails and then suddenly has to pick themselves up and be the person they can be.
Yeah. We've all seen that movie where we're just like, oh, I wish that was me. That was so cool. Well, why not? Why can't it be you? I mean, except, short of the ones where, they get into a car accident and they're in a coma for a year and then they wake up and they've got, or getting bit by a radioactive spider and become Spider-Man. But there's plenty of true to life stories out there where something, they just got to a point in their life where either it was internal or it was brought about externally, where it was time to change. It was time to rewrite the story. It was time for the new chapter. And some people get so scared about starting the new chapter, and I'm like, no offense, how many chapters have you already started? I mean, you were born, and then you started the chapter of going to school, then that chapter ended, and then some started the chapter of going to college, and then or some started the chapter of starting a family, and then all of a sudden the kids moved out. Now that's another chapter. So we've been reinventing ourselves multiple times if we actually think about it. Yes, Fran.
Well, one of the prime motivators for something like that can be there's nobody else to do it. Mm-hmm. There's this big vacuum of something that has to be done, and there's nobody else to do it. Are you going to step up, or are you just going to wilt in the background and watch it not happening?
Yeah. or having somebody from the outside give you that strong pep talk of, especially the people that something happens and they wilt down and oh, but it's so hard. And some of it's legit. I mean, some people that, the lady that I got to know quite well through a company I was with, 4 kids and one on the way, comes home one day and the house is buzzing like bees with FBI agents in and out of the house. And the husband was doing shit he wasn't supposed to. And they confiscated all the money and the house and pretty much everything. And she went from being an astute housewife with plenty of resources to virtually being homeless in 48 hours with 4 kids and one on the way, and her husband in prison. And said that she went into massive depression for about a month until finally one of her friends went, "You got 4 kids. You're about to have 5. Time to pull up your big girl panties and figure out what the hell you're going to do." And that was a snap hard enough that she went, "Wow, you're right. Can't rely on my husband or my ex-husband." And she rose up and became one of the strongest women that I know. She was just like, "Got this." And it was amazing to watch. So sometimes it's things outside of our control. Hey, Elijah. And sometimes it's we make our own decision to, some people just simply get to a point where they look around at their life and go, "There's got to be more to life than this." And they start analyzing and realizing that they've been running on autopilot in second gear for how long? And they're looking at other people going, "I wish I had that." And somebody goes, "Well, get it." Yes, Fran.
I think that's perhaps the crux of what I was talking about, that people do go along in second gear all the time. They do all this stuff privately, but they don't realize that there's many other people out there that are just longing for their expertise, and they don't recognize themselves as experts. And how to kind of make that transition from, oh, it's just little old me, to actually, I'm an expert on something. So, how do you get people to Elijah, you'll have brilliant stuff on this too. How do you get people to recognize their own greatness when they don't see it in themselves?
You ask them what they want. What do you want? And not what do you want when people are listening, but what if no one was listening and there's no call to please anyone and there's no, do you know what I mean? No pressure from external or expectation or anything. What do you really want? And you don't need to tell me. Maintain your privacy, please, Mr. or Mrs. Client, right? Because telling me would then add a little bit of that pressure that I'm saying there shouldn't be, right? What do you really want? And then why is that important to you, right? And what is it that you think having that is going to give you? And you'll find what we call the end state.
Yep.
That's what they're looking for. Because oftentimes people, I'll make 7 figures and I'll buy a house and then I'll be worthy. And then my life will be good. Then I'll be somebody. Did you ever see Jim Carrey's speech, the Golden Globes? Jim Carrey's speech, Golden Globes, 2016. He comes on stage. The announcer announces him as please welcome to the stage, 2-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey. And he comes onto the stage and he says, "Good evening. I am 2-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey. And when I go to sleep at night, I don't just sleep like any man. I am 2-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey, going to sleep for some well-earned shot-eye." Right? And when I dream, I don't dream like normal men. No, sir. I dream of being 3-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey, right? Because then I would finally be enough. Then the search for this thing that ultimately is not even going to satisfy me would be over. And that's what it is. It's like, what do you think you're going to get if you get the thing that you really want? And then how can you have that now? Because by having it now, you raise your vibration in now. And that aligns you with the thing you want to manifest, because then you're on the same vibrational level. But if you're going to it from a scarcity mindset, or from a, there's not enough in this world and I might not, or I might make it, I might maybe if I hope, if I try really hard, then you're on the wrong vibrational level for that reality you're trying to manifest.
And what if you don't know what the end point is, and then
you're on the right path.
Process of accepting it is actually jumping into the abyss, into the unknown, into the nothingness, and you don't know where you're going to fall. How do you do that?
How do you do it?
You do it.
You learn to be okay being vulnerable.
Yep.
Right? You let go of shame. Right? Because that's what it is. Shame is stopping you from being vulnerable. You're ashamed to show your real self to the real world, to everyone, to anyone. Sometimes even to yourself. But if you can let go of the shame and allow yourself to be vulnerable, you will find that just on the other side of the maximum point of fear is everything you're looking for. You ever been on a roller coaster and you got that slow climb up and everyone's getting more and more scared? I'm like, oh my God, it's actually further up than I thought it was. And look further ahead, there's like a double loop thing going on. Oh my God, we're going to go through that. And all the anxiety is building up more and more and more the closer they get to the top and the edge. And at that moment, when it goes over the edge and starts to pick up speed, you're at maximum fear. But then within 1 second, suddenly you're flying and everything's cool. And you're like, woohoo, hey, arms in the air, whatever. And you're like, get off the roller coaster. You're like, I want to go again. I want to go again. Right? So the joy and the pleasure and the reward is just on the other side of maximum fear.
Beautiful. Like that
Good.
explanation. And yes.
I've got another question for you, friend. This voice that's telling you to move forward into the abyss, have you heard it before in your life?
At the worst times, and I usually get the best results.
Because while Elijah was talking, it reminded me of a story of a hiker who was hiking along and fell over the side of a cliff and managed to grab onto a branch on the side of the cliff and was screaming for help. And a voice said, just let go. And he said, I don't want to die. And the boy said, just let go. And he held on all night. And when the sun showed up, he was that far off the ground. Sometimes our fears are much more than the sum of what we think they are.
And it's also self-identity, I think, as well, because, you know, you're used to yourself in this particular box. And if you suddenly have this door opened and this incredible bigger box or whatever, or no box out there, are you going to be able to step through it? It's scary.
What ingredients could you put on your mask to make it? Who would be able to make it? If this was a movie, what kind of actor or actress would see that opportunity and go, and they would dive through that thing with a barrel roll and come up, and who would that be? While you're thinking of that, Elijah, what were you going to say?
You don't have to do it all at once. Just because there's infinite possibilities doesn't mean you have to explore all of them now.
Yeah.
You like, if the box you've been in is like this bit that I've closed off between my index and my thumb, right? And once you open a door, the potential that exists is like all of Australia, right? So by scale, it's like massive. Of course, it's going to be overwhelming, right? That's just normal. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, right? It just means that you just need to go at your own pace that you're comfortable with, but don't let that become an excuse. You know, you still move forward. Like, speed is irrelevant. Forward is forward, but standing still is not forward, right? Forward is forward. Doesn't matter if it go like really quickly, or change happens in leaps. Okay, it happens in leaps. They've proven this in quantum physics. Okay, that an electron, when the electron changes energy levels in an atom, it simultaneously disappears from one and appears in the other, and you don't actually see it move. Right? We do not have instruments advanced enough to measure that it's moving. Right? As far as from our perspective, the smallest infinitesimal moment of time that we can observe, it already happened simultaneously. It was instant. It disappeared here and appeared there. Right? So change happens in, and it doesn't have to go just from this energy level to the next one up. It could go from any one to any other one. So change happens in leaps, and it can be a small leap. It can be a quantum leap. That's where the phrase comes from. Okay. And there's no way of knowing that. The thing all you can do is consistently, like, you know what you want, and you're doing what you want because that's what you want to do. You're not doing it as a means to an end. You're doing it to an end of itself. Right? Like, the reason I got good at hypnosis is because I fell in love with hypnosis, not because I wanted to become rich or help people or charge people money. And you know what I mean? That's different. If you start doing something as a means to an end, meaning I need to do this, like I need to go to the gym so I can lose weight, that's not going to work. But if you go to the gym because you like going to the gym, that's different. Right? Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you're sitting there watching this thinking, I don't like going to the gym. Does that mean I'm going to be fat forever? No, there must be something you like. Maybe you like ping pong. But playing ping pong is going to be better exercise than sitting in a chair. Right? You don't have to do something like super athletic, but there must be some activity that you enjoy, and that will burn calories. Right? Is the point I'm trying to make. So I know I kind of got off the subject, but to close the loop, when you're doing something that's an end to itself, that's when you don't have an expectation of something in return for your labor. And if you don't have an expectation for something in return, then by definition, you have let go of the outcome. So you have your intention of what you want in life, but you've let go because you're doing it for an end, because it's an end to itself rather than a means to an end. And so having let go, you've automatically activated law of attraction at that point. Yeah. Because you have your intention, but you've also let go. You're doing it just because that's what you enjoy. Coming back around to where did it start? Where did I start, TJ? You don't have to do it all at once, right? Sometimes when you keep doing what you enjoy, having already let go of the outcome and you're just doing it because, you will make incremental progresses. But at some point, the progress that you make will be a bigger leap than the small leaps you had been doing. And that's when you eventually get so you get, like, imagine it's a line of time, right? And like the line of time going this way, and each moment is split along that line of time. You might make some progress from this moment to this moment, and then from this moment to this moment, and this moment. But then at some point, if you just keep going, you're going to make that quantum leap.
And that's scary.
Well, it's not, because it's going to be the thing you wanted.
True, but it's a big change, and embracing that big change and accepting that big change.
I've got something else, but Lenora's got her hand up.
It's okay. You can go. I can wait.
Nope.
Okay.
Go ahead. You had your hand up.
Fran, so there's this book, and I don't know if you've heard it, and it's called The Horse, the Boy, the Fox, and the Mole. And I absolutely adore this book. I think it's phenomenal. And it actually, there's this one very powerful, at least it was for me. And it says, I even pulled it up on my screen so I could read it to you. And it goes, there's a horse, a mole, a fox, and a boy walking in the woods. And you can see it's completely cluttered, and there's branches and complete disarray in the woods. And he goes, I can't see a way through, said the boy. Can you see your next step? Asked the horse. He says, yes. Just take that, said the horse. Yep. Just take the next step. And, you might not see the whole path. And I've also been there, and I try to, been there many times. And I try in moments, I try to remember, okay, this is just today. All that exists is right now, and I can do one thing. And if I'm giving it my best and I'm moving forward, that's enough right now. And then you go back and watch the very beginning, because I said something and I was like, when Fran shows up, somebody tell her to go back. So yeah, you're doing great. Hang in there.
Wow. Thank you for that. That's opened up a lot. Yeah, cool. In fact, it's opened up everything.
Good, because I've got two quick things for you as well. One is a great quote that simply says, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Too many people spend 365 days of the same page and they call it a book. Groundhog Day for 365 days. Yes, I lived a life. No, you were alive, but did you live? The other one, again, from Jordan Peterson. Jordan, give me a call. Where he said, if you don't know what to do, or if you're afraid to do something, do anything. Just go out and do anything. Because even if you end up being on the wrong path, you'll be able to look and go, oh, I should be over there. But you would never know that if you hadn't gone that far. It gives you a totally different perspective that you would have never seen at the beginning of the trail. So the people that sit and worry and wonder and they don't do anything, they're looking at 5 different trails and like paralysis by overanalysis. Well, what if? Well, what if? Well, what if? And they think about all the worst case scenarios. Whereas a lot of us crazy people like me, I'm just like, all right. And there have been times I get halfway down the path and I'm like, oh, this isn't it. I should be over there.
And if you fall flat on your face and have to pick yourself up, but still need to keep, and you go through the questioning. Was it the right path? Should I be doing that? What do you do then?
I ask myself, did I learn any lessons and did I die? I've made it all the way up to June 21st, 2022, and so far there has not been one single thing that has killed me. I've survived 100% of everything I've tried. The good stuff, the stupid stuff, the stuff that I fell flat on my face, and I still got up. And knowing that is what allowed me to do most of the stuff that I've done. My mom's told me that I've lived 10 lives compared to most of the people she knows. But it's because I know that for me, worst case scenario is I'll die. And at that point, well, the game's over. If I don't die, there's more game left. I've been tackled and hit pretty hard. And I got up and went, well, what did I learn? You're never going to fail if you learn and keep going. The people that fail are the ones that didn't learn anything and they quit. Lenora?
One thing that also came up was I check in with my version of myself on my deathbed a lot. And if I can see that person and think, will I regret not doing this? Or will this upset me? If I didn't try, if I didn't at least push, if I didn't at least do something, what could I have done? And sitting there with that regret is enough to get me moving in any direction. And I think what TJ said, did I die? Like, I struggle with, what if I'm humiliated? What if somebody calls me stupid? And then I look at that version and I think, that's what held you back. What were you? Oh, you're talking about my brain.
Calls me stupid.
Zero. Yeah. See, yeah, zero fucks. And I also think I will die one day. I will. It's gonna happen. Am I okay leaving that part and not addressing it or not looking at it, whatever the case may be, whatever comes up? But having that come up is enough to say, all right, I need to drop the fox I'm giving and move forward and do something. And I find that if I do something, I will course correct, like kind of like a Waze or Google Maps, like, you're being redirected. Please follow the map. And it will eventually get me wherever I need to be moving at that point. Now I'm done.
And even if you didn't get there, you'd have had an exciting adventure along the way.
Yes. Good detours.
Trust me, I've had some very amazing adventures that were short paths. And sometimes we get so wound up on, well, how do I plan for the 1,000-mile adventure? Well, what if you found out that it was 110-mile adventures? I've bought 2 places that I knew I was going to retire on. That's where I was going to live for the rest of my life. No. And I've had a couple of careers that I was pretty sure that I could do for the rest of my life. And here I am on number 28. So
just coming back to that whole regret thing, Fran, the one what Lenora was talking about, that's a big motivator, right? Choose your poison. There's the pain of doing it now and having to go through it versus the pain of regret one day. Here's the thing: pain is inevitable. Suffering is choice,
Amen.
right? Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice. Yeah. Yeah.
Wise words, oh guru.
Not mine originally. I just spread.
I know.
It's like Chinese whispers, isn't it? You know, you just kind of you change it a little bit and then pass it on. You know.
Perfect.
Anything else we can help with? It's what I like about this collection of people here to help. Anybody? Anybody? Come on.
As if I could be quiet. Fran, you had mentioned allowing and you had mentioned wanting. I find that there's a difference between wanting and yearning. And wanting can, for me, it feels more heart, but yearning, like knowing I really want something, is like a full body approach for me. And that's where I would delineate, like, I want this, but the desire, the yearn, that's different than my want, but that's just in my brain. And then there was something else that you had said, allowing. What I had started to do, and I'm trying to tell as many people as possible because I want to keep myself committed to it. I started to meditate, but like really specifically, really before bed, and I've committed to at least 15 minutes about it. And what I'm focusing on is simply allowing, because I can find myself in a state of allowing for like half a second, sometimes 3 seconds. And I'm now really focusing on trying to stay there. What does it feel like? And really practice it, because sometimes I could be like, oh, that'd be nice. And then I go like 16 different ways. So now I'm really trying to hone in on this one component of it. And it's being helpful. I am on day 3.
Well done. And if you paint yourself into a corner so you can't not allow,
see,
that really puts the pressure on and makes things happen.
that's
But
the intention. Sit down and allow.
not always a comfortable journey every day.
No,
That's
but
not what it's about.
I agree. And I like the delineation between pain and suffering, because I forget that. But when other people say it, it resonates differently in my head. But yes, the focusing in on the attention, and that's very, very specific about. It's been happening 3 days in a row now.
Yeah, and stating it to other people, so you hear yourself saying the words, and then it makes it more real every time you say it, and it becomes more you every time you say it, admit it, allow it.
You can even bring it more into present tense, right? Like, I've been meditating for 3 days. I am meditating every day. That kind of, you know, it can bring it even more present progressive tense.
Language.
You know? And also there's the I am. So it's like identity now, right? Versus I have been. Yeah. Maybe try it. I don't know. Maybe it won't work. Maybe I'm full of shit. It doesn't matter. You know? But you won't know until you try.
Then you still have to face the little word, the little voice in the back of your head saying, no, that's rubbish. That's not true. That's a lie. And, you know, oh, I've only been doing it 3 days. But
well, you just
yes,
hypnotize
you
him.
still.
You do those mind-spinning questions on him. How do you know that? Really?
Yeah.
What would it be like if it wasn't the way you thought it is? You know, you can actually hypnotize the voice inside your head. I start seeing him as a client now. You know, you just ask him trippy questions. Well, if we weren't living the life we are, then what aren't the problems we wouldn't have? And he goes, did you what? I said, exactly, sleep. Next thing you know, it's great. It's great. Some people think I'm schizo, but you know, it works well.
If you got it, why not use it?
I've got another question for you, friend. Have you spent time figuring out who that voice is? How old?
Is it even yours?
Yeah,
Is it inside?
I like asking clients when they hear that little voice of, is it yours or is it somebody else's? If it is yours, how old is it? The funny thing is, the most consistent, and I'm not going to, this isn't a front load, so if, did you get an answer that popped up? But
I think my answer is I'm more interested in the voice that says, well, why aren't you doing this now? But why aren't you this now? Or what would you do now you are
Change the
this?
why. Change the why. Ask the question again, right? So sorry, TJ. I know you.
no, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, the linguist in me is coming out again, right? So rephrase the question, change it from why to how. Ask the same question again, but change it to how instead of why. Try it right now. Like, what was the question you were asking? Why? How can you re-ask that with how?
How can I re-ask it with how? God.
There you go. That's a perfect question. How can I re-ask it with how? What a brilliant question. Because why? Just think about it, just from a language point of view, from a dictionary definition point of view. Why leads to a reason. It's a justification. It's an analysis. It's a rationale. It's all conscious mind, right? Why leads to the reason. How leads to possibility, right? Where leads to location. When leads to a time. What leads to a thing, right? If you consider really what the questions are, the questioning words we have, who would lead to an identity, right? So how leads to possibility. Yeah. And so when you ask, oh, why aren't you this way now? Your brain's like, oh, she wants a list. Okay, well, it's because of this and because of that and because of this and because of that. And you'd be there all day, all night, even if you only got 2 or 3 items, instead of like a long list like me. I have a massive list, right? But maybe if you only got 2 or 3, your brain's going to answer every question that you ask it. It's a questioning, answering machine, right? So
true. So
change your reality by changing and asking a better quality of question.
So a good question is, how can I be comfortable with this new reality?
That's a good question. That's a very good question, you know?
Much better,
you know?
much more.
What could I do differently next time? That's an amazing question, right? What could I do differently next time? What was good? What was happening well before things went wrong? It's an amazing question, right? Because what you're doing when you ask something like that, you're training your brain to give priority to and look for success first. What was going well before it went wrong? You know, you're training your brain to look for success and look for what went right. Because, you know, we have a negativity bias. That's just the way we're programmed. We come pre-programmed. Our fear circuitry inside is much more heavily wired in terms of neurons and things than our pleasure circuitry, right? That's just how we come from the factory. So we have a negativity bias, and you have to, it's not that you can't do it, but it's just the same like meditating or going to the gym or learning to swim. And it takes practice, right? More repetition, more repetition, more repetition. You can override it. You can become something more. Yeah, someone who learns to see things a certain way. You know, the people who are overly positive and they never let anything faze them, they learned to be that way. They practiced being that way. They didn't just like, oh, you know, this person was born with Mark II and this person was an original, and so they struggle a bit more. The Mark II somehow gets through. It's not like that. Just different experiences teach you different things, and everyone learns it eventually. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with however long it takes for any one of the people to get there.
And you're actually saying in a totally different way, forgive me for being Australian, but you're actually saying the Australian spirit, which is how you make something out of nothing. If you've got a bit of baling string and maybe a cable tie or a bit of wire, you can do anything.
MacGyver. You know,
Yeah,
it's the A team, it's
exactly.
MacGyver out here. You know, you go to the kitchen and you haven't been to the grocery store, and you could still make a meal with all the little scrap bits that you got lying around, and it'll be tasty too, right? So, there's a lot more there. We are so much more resourceful than we think we are. There have been, people lift cars when they get hit, when someone they love get hit by them. You know what I mean? Like, where's that strength come from? You know what I mean? So, like, we're so much more resourceful than we think.
Here's
Really?
here's another one for you. Ask your subconscious, how many lessons do you have in your lesson box that you already have that will assist you going forward? That popped into my head after the talk by Gary Vaynerchuk, his talk called So You Just Turned 50. Are you familiar with that? Have you heard me talk about this one before? Have you heard it, Elijah?
Don't think so. Not sure.
Absolutely amazing. And I was lucky enough to hear about it just before my last class reunion. And he talked about it, Reader's Digest version, and I'll clean it up because he likes to swear quite a bit. Not that that bothers me, but blah, blah, blah. And he said he gets a lot of people coming to him that go, okay, I'm turning 50 and, I just want to make sure that, my 401k is good enough and, I'm trying to wind down things a little bit so I can retire. And he goes, wait a minute, retire? The retirement age was set at a time where people were living to like 65. They figured if you made it to 65 or so, yeah, you can take a break. But now people are living longer and longer and longer. 90 is no longer the surprise it used to be. 100 isn't even the shock that it was back in the day. People are even going into 105, 110. But let's be conservative. Let's say you're going to live to be 90. You're 50 now. 90 is 40 years away. 40 years ago, you were 10. Were you thinking small? Were you thinking exit strategy? Were you thinking like, oh my gosh, am I going to have enough to reach? No, you thought you could be absolutely anything you wanted to be. You potentially have 40 years ahead of you. The difference is people that start new careers at this point in their life are some of the most successful ones out there because they have way more knowledge than they ever did in their 20s. They know what works, what doesn't work. They know what they like to do. They know what they don't like to do. So you just turned 50. You got 40 years ahead. Even if you turned 60, you still got 30 years ahead of you. With all this knowledge, stop thinking small. Stop thinking exit strategy. Start thinking about, holy shit, I got a lot of time ahead of me. And I've got all this knowledge, I can do whatever the hell I want. That was his So You Just Turned 50 talk. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I just turned 50? I got 40 years ahead. What the hell do I want to be? What do I want to do?
Well, I still don't know, and it's fun.
Good. And one of the other things, some of us have been through Lillian Pearl Bridges' class for Golden Path, which is a great class, and it doesn't tell you what job to get. It allows you to look back on your history of what you've done, what you're interested in, so that you know what kind of a path you should be on. When we look back at mine was fairly simple. Help people and entertain them. I live to make people laugh and help them fix things. Have since I was a kid. That's my golden path. I am on my golden path right now. That's why it's so easy for me. And if all of this got taken away from me today, I would go out and I'd do another thing that would be in alignment with helping people and entertaining them, because that would make it simple for me. Now, would that mean doing what I'm doing right now? No. Like I said, if that was taken away from me, but I would find something else that was still in alignment with that. And I have plenty of lessons on what works and what doesn't work.
And there's so many little gems in your experience and history that apply to whatever you choose to do now, that you didn't realize would fit into that category of helping people and entertaining them. You know, even bartending, well, yeah, that's entertaining people and making them happy and
Yeah.
all sorts of things. Yeah. Well, I found that even when I was working in the laboratory, that I can use that in all sorts of fields that I never realized it would apply to. You know, gold assaying. How would you bring that into spirituality? You actually can.
Yes. Yes. That's why I tell people, you know, learn anything. If you've got the chance, learn anything. If I had the spare time and somebody was teaching a free class on underwater basket weaving, I would take it. And they're like, what, you want to be a basket weaver? I'm like, no. But for all I know, 5-10 years down the line, I may see somebody trying to build something and I go, wait a minute, you know, if you weave it this way, it'll make it much stronger. And they'd be like, where the hell did you learn that? Underwater basket weaving class 10 years ago. I said, what?
More than that, even beyond that, you'll start to see patterns between what you learned and what you haven't yet learned, and what you are learning. So it might be something that you're learning new in 5 years' time that seems similar to what you did learn in the basket weaving class, underwater basket weaving class, right?
Yeah.
And so you'll have like an unfair advantage over your classmates in a way, right? That you recognize, because I learned how to hedge bets for a bookmaker, right?
Mhm.
But then when I started doing stock trading, I realized it was the same freaking thing.
Right?
Right. And then when I started doing hypnosis, I realized that my ability to think in probabilities was actually a skill in dissociation. Right. And so,
Yeah.
like, there are connections in everything. And you're going to, like, if you talk to David, right, and he can link almost anything you talk about to martial arts,
Uh-huh.
because there is some analogy or some connection or some pattern that he's recognized that, oh, that's just like this. And that's why they say sort of follow your bliss and learn the thing you really want to learn for the sake of just for the sake of learning it, because it interests you. Because then when you're out doing other things, you're going to start to recognize patterns to something that you already know.
And even things like disabilities. I'm dyslexic, slightly dyslexic. Even things like that, they actually give you an advantage over the general population because you look at things differently. People who are blind develop their hearing abilities much more. Why, you know, we sometimes think, oh, I can't do that because I have a disability. It can be, you know, an edge that other people don't have. So, you know, look at things again, look at things fresh. You can use unexpected stuff in all sorts of places.
Can I make a bad joke?
Please.
I missed dyslexia by about 5 years. Back in those days, you were dumb boss. They hadn't come up with a label yet. Sorry.
The other,
But you think differently. You actually
eventually it
problem
became a
solve.
diagnosis, and now everyone has a label. Oh, this person
I bet
has
you problem
learning
solve
disorder.
in a different. Sorry, I'm over talking you. I was
No,
going to say, I
hold on.
bet you solve problems in a totally different way to other people. Can you tell us about that?
Who does?
Well, I just had to throw out one quick thing. When you talked about disabilities, it reminded me of the runner that lost his legs, and so he had those spring things that they ran on, and he was beating people, and they're like, he has an unfair advantage, and they're like, he lost his legs. He learned how to run without legs. Maybe you guys should get springs for your shoes. I don't know, but yes, most disabilities are here. And I'm not talking about mental, that there are people that will give you excuses up the wazoo why they can't do something. And then you look over and somebody who's got half should have half the ability to do it, and they're kicking butt. Francine has her hand up.
I did sociology here in Australia at university, and I did sociology without speaking well English and having to write assessments with very low. However, I had an unfair advantage. I was passionate about it, and I read everything I could find because I was so passionate about it. I read everything I could find, but also I found a lot of sociology in French, and then read that, and then wrote my exam in English about it. Lucky I had people going over my thing and telling me, no, this doesn't work. We're not sure what you're trying to say here. But yeah, there were only 3 people that passed that exam, and I was one of them with hardly any English. Yeah.
Yay!
It was quite impressive.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, if something is a disadvantage or an advantage, it's really a matter of perspective, right? You know, like if they're big and strong, then you're fast and nimble. Do you know what I mean? Like, it really depends on how you see it, right?
Yep. And right back to who's the expert. I love asking that question. Well, he doesn't have a piece of paper from a university that says he knows everything. Yeah, but did he come up with the right answer? Well, yeah. Be amazed at what you can do. Like when you were talking about knowing different languages, that's why I like that quote. Don't give people a hard time for butchering your language. That means that they know more than one language.
I don't know one
I speak quite a few languages, but I was lucky. I grew up with them. It's second nature, you know. But I struggle writing, but I can talk.
Hey.
I know many languages: English, American, Canadian, Scottish.
I can also speak rubbish and nonsense.
Yeah.
I want to learn word salad. I'd love to.
I like word salad.
I'd love to learn word salad, like really well, to the point where everyone's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? You
Well,
know?
after a number of years of bartending, I learned how to speak drunkenese, if that means anything.
Yeah, I speak something that not many people can speak. It's French English. That's what I used to speak when I first arrived in South Africa. I didn't speak a word of English. So the words I knew, I mixed them up with French.
Hey, again,
that was like without Google Translate and all this stuff, right? You know?
Yeah, that was in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I learned when I went to Europe, and like in France, where because I wasn't in the tourist area, so there were plenty of people that didn't speak English, and my 3 months of French class in 9th grade helped me out a lot. I learned a lot of body language. When you don't have a choice, it's amazing how much you can communicate when both people want to communicate and you don't have the words for it.
Every week in the train station, man, with the tourists. Every week. 2 minutes walking.
Yep. Yeah.
They know exactly what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I moved to South Africa, we had a Zulu lady working for us, and she didn't speak English, and I didn't speak English. So we spoke together. We kind of made up some language.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. If you want to communicate, you do manage. Yeah. And then we both learned English together as well, which was quite nice.
And again, that's probably why I don't give people who butcher language a hard time, because I'm like, no. I ended up being the person who could not communicate. I knew one language, and it wasn't theirs. And it really hit me. I think I've told this story before, for Sutton and I in Norway, when I went down to the town square to have the festivities, and there had to be people from at least 8 different countries in that town square. And they were butchering the English language. But it was the one common language that they all knew, and they were communicating. And I was like, and I'm the only one here that only speaks one language. Thank God it's the one that they all kind of know. I am a tourist. I will not give anybody a hard time about not being able to speak my language fluently if they know more than one. Now, if they grew up in America, and I'm going, say what? I said, where are you from? America. Learn to speak English. Do you speak any other languages? No, I'm from America. Learn English. Then learn another language, please. And with that slam, gives us 1 minute left. Anybody want to throw in any last minute stuff? Want to say thank you, Elijah. I missed your smiley face. Glad to see you back here.
When it wasn't smiling, I didn't bother. But now it's smiling again, so I'm coming back, you know.
You don't have to smile when you come here. It's just good to see your face. I miss you, man.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, we've been on a bit of a roller coaster, you know, but we're all right. We're all right. I say we because maybe I am schizo. I don't know. But, yeah, we're all right. We'll get there.
Yeah. It's all right. I'm schizophrenic, and so am I.
So is he and her.
But that's all right. Multiple personalities are only a problem when they don't fit
This
in.
means I have lots of opinions.
Yes. I've even named a few of them.
Yeah, same.
Well, kids, thank you so much for showing up for another edition of Triple T.
Thank you.
As always, if you're watching this recording and you've watched it all the way to the end, thank you! Please remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and share this with as many people as possible. Please leave comments. Even you guys, it's nice to see that, you know, it gives other people something to read for a preview and lets me know that you guys think I'm doing all right. Again, love you all. Hope to see you back here in 7. And maybe next time I'll talk about what I'll be talking about in Vegas at HypnoThoughts Live, number 10. Until then, bye. Now go out and be nice people.